How's it going, everyone? It's New here with the last video before Season 3.17 start. Just a real quick video about Toxic Rain and my League Start plan. Just going to kind of show you how I'm charting out my first few skills. There's a lot of people playing Toxic Rain. I don't think there's any sort of genius method here, but there's a couple things, especially in the very beginning, that I think you guys might want to pick up on if you're doing Toxic Rain. Something's going to really help elevate your, especially like your Act 1, Act 2 League Start. Let me just jump right into it here. I have right here my current in-game Toxic Rain setup. There aren't any major changes here, although there will be a couple new nodes right here. Unfortunately, the Bow Masteries for Toxic Rain got utterly butchered because we lost 35% increased damage while you're wielding a bow, which is just a straight up 35% damage increase. And we lost, much more importantly, we lost 8% movement speed while phasing, 20% chance to gain phasing for 4 seconds on kill. That's horrible. I mean, well, that, to be honest, that Masteries was ultra overpowered. Even for a raider who gets free phasing, that's still really good. 8% movement speed, just straight up all the time. And it's super close to the League Start zone. And last season, when I started, I almost went directly up here first, just to make sure I would skip phasing and movement speed immediately. We're not going to get that anymore, so I'll show you kind of what I'm doing about that. Unfortunately, the POB has still not been updated with the new tree. Consequently, I went with Poe Planner, which apparently does have some of the new tree here. I don't really like this site. I'm probably not going to use it again, but I'm not, you know, I will have a link to this at the end of the video, or rather down in the description below. But I'll go ahead and reset here, and we're going to roll Raider, of course. So, first start, we're just going to go forward here to pick up the nodes for increased projectile damage. That does have a direct impact on basically any bow skill in the beginning of the game. Of course, we won't have Toxic Rain or Caustic Arrow immediately. I'm going to be running Split Arrow with Mirage Archer support with Siege Ballista. Going for Bleed Focus, it would be like Maim support and whatever the other one, Act 1 is, for a chance to bleed. Yeah. Puncture is not a bad idea either, but I prefer just for the raw AoE. We could go straight up here to save a point, but I don't think that, you know, just going for dexterity nodes off the bat really hurts your damage and when you need it the most. And we need it the most in the beginning of Act 1. So this is why we're going this way. In fact, I'm just going to go straight here, and I'm going to go all the way straight across to this point here. It's going to give me, well, I mean, a ton of damage, essentially, right off the bat, just going pure damage straight there. Now, from here, it gets already gets interesting from here. I'm going to take these two nodes first, because for some reason I didn't do this last season. I really wish I had, but this is 4 mana on hit for free. All you gotta do is click your mana potion once every 10 seconds. You get 4 mana per hit. Because you can use a mana potion even if you have full mana. Sorry, I keep saying potion, I mean flask. And 20% increased maximum mana is pretty insane. It won't mean a whole lot right off the bat, but it does. It's a super strong stat later on. So is 20 to strengthen intelligence, which is going to basically eliminate any sort of gearing issue you might have due to lack of strength or intelligence early on in maps. So that's, and it will come in handy later on. I never give up this notable, even though I never picked it up back before. I eventually got it way late in the game and was realized, oh my god, this thing would have been awesome when I was leveling. So getting this as we're leveling. Also, in Flask applied to you have 5% increased effect. That's actually super good in the end game and not bad early on. From here, I'm just going to go over and get the right side. Now, you may think I'm just doing this for the percent life, but actually I'm doing it mainly for the 2% life regen after I've used a flask. 2% life regen. It's hard to get regen this early in the game, and having that is really nice, and it's going to come super handy once I pick up Blood Rage in Act 2. stun avoidance as well as percent life for free. I mean, these are just fantastic right here. Now, you could pick up both of these. I'm just going to pick up the one here. I'm going to go down here for some attack speed. Now, this is kind of a cross point, and I'm just going to go over to the right. Now, the reason I'm going over here like this is because movement speed is king. There are hardly any just straight up movement speed enhancers on the entire tree here, but here's a nice little cluster right here. This is 9% movement speed. Or sorry, 3 plus 6 plus 3, that's 12% movement speed rather. That's huge this early on. I mean, you're still in Act 1. You get 12% movement speed increase. 1 point away from intuition here. I don't think this is that great, but for 1 point, it's definitely... the stat weights on this make it worth getting for 1 point. From here, I'm going to continue going down. I'm going to do probably the most unsuspected maneuver here. I'm going to go straight down here. Why am I going here? Flask charges gained. 20% increased flask effect duration. And flask supply, do you have 10% increased effect? That's also huge in the end game, and actually huge in the beginning. The increased charges gained and 20% increased flask duration is enormous early on for the Quicksilver Flask in particular. And I'm getting a bunch of extra flask effect from this mastery, as well as these two notables. I have 20% increased effect Quicksilver Flask on top of that. So movement speed is king. So whatever we can do to increase movement speed is good. Now, normally I wouldn't have gone down here, but this is the only place to get phasing early in the game now, because this is a major change. We have 4% increased attack speed with bows, 8% chance to gain phasing for 4 seconds on kill. That is a far cry from what the mastery used to be. But hey, you know, it's 16% total. We're going to be getting permanent phasing. And Avatar of the Hunt is actually one of the best notables in the entire tree. So it's super strong, insanely good. Tons of movement speed, tons of damage over time, just tons of raw damage, and even a nice, healthy amount of evasion. It's pretty insane. So let's check out the bow masteries. Garbage, 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 garbage. Wow. I remember reading on the patch notes that GGG buffed bow masteries. Yeah, for some people, I guess. You know what? I probably will actually pick up this one here. Oddly enough, for Toxic Rain, even though Area of Effect isn't a huge deal, it will matter for the leveling purposes, for getting extra clear. And the main reason I'm picking this up is, well, for Caustic Arrow, it'll be nice, but I don't really think I'm going to run Caustic Arrow. I don't like how weak it is, and Caustic Arrow self-cast has a particularly poor synergy with Mirage Archer too. And Mirage Archer is amazing for leveling. So Toxic Rain self-cast, I think, is how I'm going to go. Toxic Rain self-cast and Toxic Rain Ballista. Focus Ballista support by Act 3, regular Ballista in Act 2, and Siege Ballista in Act 1 is kind of how that's going to look in like 2 separate damage links. Yeah, so from here, so this kind of finishes out the little bottom portion section. Actually, no, I take that back. I'm supposed to get this jewel here because you do get a couple jewels that is, 2 points to get a jewel. Usually worth it. There are a couple quest reward jewels that are actually pretty decent early on. Okay, from here we're just going to go up north. And we have a funny little note here. If you want to, you can take 10% increased flask charges gained. You don't really have to. I don't think it's really worth it. At this point, ores are going to start to matter. They don't matter a whole lot yet, but they're starting to matter now. They really start to matter in Act 3. And I mean, early in Act 1, all you can get is precision, vitality, and clarity, but it's still good to get this out of the way. These are such strong nodes in general, even before we get grace, purity, and all that stuff. So from here, let's see. Let me double check where we're going here. Definitely not that. Not that. Over here, straight up here. Chaos dot multiplier should be the best bet to go here, even though he's not going to have a tremendous amount of scaling off of it yet. Yeah, we should do this here. If nothing else, because we get a 20% increased effect of Withered, which we will have Withering Step, or I will anyway. And that's going to be nice. From here, I'm going to go straight up. 30 intelligence. Get some max life. It's always good to get some max life. Get some damage over time. And the final, I think this is the final movement speed modifier. Just straight up movement speed. So by this point, I'm going to be running pretty decently fast. I got a respectable amount of movement speed on my Atlas tree. And I'm going to have Quicksilver uptime. Like really good. And hopefully I get, at least 15-20% on the boots as well. Gonna pick up this jewel slot. At whatever point that I feel like I want to use the second jewel, I'll go ahead and pick up that slot. From here, we're going to check this out here. I'm going to actually skip the bottom first because I want to get these up here. Quite a bit of damage over time. These are really powerful damage over time cluster right here. And with a useless bow mastery, unfortunately. Backtrack down here to get the percent life. Spell suppression, I don't really care. I don't think it's worth anything when you're leveling in the axe. You obviously can't have 100%. So it's just not that good. But, it helps you a little bit, I suppose. Then we go here. Now, this is where you got some decisions to make here. I like the aura clusters a lot, but these are quick access over here. You also have this stuff down here. It's actually a little bit hard to say what's the best thing to do here. I'm not really sure where I want to go. I can't remember exactly the aura mana reservation situation as to whether or not I get a huge amount out of this, but I think I do. I think this is actually quite meaningful. So in order to run, what is it? Purity and... Oh, I almost forgot. Grace. Mana efficiency there. In order to run Purity of Elements, which I think will be the #1 aura, leveling for sure. All the way up to basic red maps, it'll be the best aura. And then Malevolence as well. And to have some mana left over to run, a little bit of Vitality or Clarity, you're probably going to want to go up here first. Although, there's no way I'm going up here and not picking up this Frenzy rather quickly and an easy basic jewel slot. I'll continue up here, and I'm going to go all the way over to the mana reservation. Again, this is assuming that it's useful, and it also has increased effect on of auras on you, which is a massive mastery there. Super strong. Let's see. From here, what do I want to do? I want to probably get this life nodes right here since they're really easy access. Get an extra 10 strength and a little bit of energy shield. Go ahead and pick up the chaos.multi up here. The mastery is not worth it because I don't have any chaos res currently, but the top side is basically finished at this point, I believe. Yeah, now if I don't care about the reservation, I think won't be the case, but if I don't, fairly quickly go down here, get your frenzy charge this way, and another jewel slot there, and we're gonna want. It's a pretty nice. I mean, these aren't super powerful, but Master Fletcher's a pretty good node. Oh yeah, I forgot that this time around, 20% increased projectile speed actually means 20% increased damage as well. So that actually got buffed. This particular notable. We also need to go here and pick up the life right there. Apologies, forgot. You are going to want the life masteries. I don't think 10%. You just check to see which one's worth more, the 50 max life or percent life. I think 50 max life is worth more at the very beginning of the game. And then for the other one, I'm not going to do the life roll. Oh, oops, forgot it's right here. I will have gotten that earlier. My mistake. Regenerate 2% life per second while moving. So now I have 2% life if I've used the life flask, and I have 2% life while moving. That's 4% life regeneration almost basically 100% of the time, which means Blood Rage is now doing no damage to me. Cha-ching. Got him. So that's going to be really useful. Let's go ahead and talk Ascendancies. By now I will have almost certainly got my first Ascendancy point. I am not going for phasing. I am going for Onslaught. 20% faster movement speed is going to be worth more than phasing, my friends. It's going to be better. Not to mention cast speed and attack speed. It's definitely better than phasing. Just getting that permanent Onslaught right there. When my movement speed is still pretty low, having that, in Act 4, it's going to be super nice. Now, the second one, I do think getting the phasing is going to be the right move. This is around Act 8 or 9, or 9 or 10, rather. And after that, assuming you don't mind keeping Blood Rage on, it's going to be better to get increased Onslaught effect further. This also is a 10% more chance to evade attacks, so that's a big deal. And of course, this is getting into near maps, so nearing map territory, mapping territory. So I'm not really gonna display the last 2 points. Will be these down here, but I'm not gonna display those because I'm only kind of walking you through what I'm doing up to and slightly into maps, because beyond that, I don't think it's really important to share that information. Just kind of giving you the sort of, right off the bat league starter. I think there's a few things down here. Now, the stuff down here, that's just for end game. Mage Bane, yes. Around the time, Mage Bane will be good when you start getting into white and yellow maps. Definitely going to want to pick that up. It's a huge value too, and it's only 3 more points away. Again, I wouldn't bother picking this up until I have Quartz Infusion. And the moment I get Quartz Infusion, I'll probably go ahead and grab that. I think that's about it. There's a transition into cluster jewels, but that's not going to happen until red maps. So I'm not going to really mess with that. But when I do the transition into cluster jewels, that's when I'll take points out of intuition, and these 4 here I'll remove. I'll swap these back out to the more efficient notables there. Probably drop these 2, maybe. That's questionable, actually. This was one of the hardest notables for me to handle. I really want it, but at the same time I really want to get rid of it for something else. Up until the very end game, it's a good one though. Yeah, so that looks like what I'm gonna do there with equipment. Just share a little bit about what I got in mind for the equipment. So I'm someone who believes in uniques being a really good options where you can get them. Because I'm going to be running Purity of Elements, and then Malevolence as a secondary. By the way, when you're leveling the axe, you totally don't need Grace or Determination or anything. I don't plan to put Grace or Determination into my build until I can slot it in, for one thing, and then I'll also have Defiance Banner as well. But not until red maps, really. Yellow maps, at least. Definitely don't need one of those major defensive auras. Not going to be worth it. But you absolutely do want Purity of Elements for the immunity, for elemental ailments, for the easy access all res, which allows me to prioritize uniques that don't have all res. With this particular gear setup, this is how I actually leveled when I did Delirium Everywhere. And I'm going to go for... The rings are going to be surprisingly good on here. I think I can find rings this good without paying an arm and a leg. At least close to this good, basically. If it already has a decent max life roll and has just tons of all res on it, you can really cover your bases well there. Amulet's super cheap, although you may not be able to get the faded version. Maybe not. The only influence item I plan to have before getting into like high tier red maps, because I'm not going to be one of the first players in there. But I do expect to see Hunter influenced 82 plus quivers available. They should come. They're going to start flying off the shelves immediately. Amulet's another story. Other gear slots, that's another story. But quivers will just be flying off the shelf very quickly. Here's an interesting item you might not have thought about using while leveling. So this involves taking famine and gluttony, I forget. Anyway, you can look it up. Look up this belt. Combine two, basically 1 or 2 chaos belts to get this. This is 15% increased movement speed. That's really awesome. And it's a huge max life roll. It's a good resist roll. And it's 60% increased flask duration, which is absolutely bonkers. Now, it is offset with 30% reduced flask charges gained. But that is additive, so it will be offset by, for example, this right here. Increased flask charges gained. Could get this one if you want to help offset it. I believe there's at least one unique jewel we get by leveling to increase flask charges gained or something like that. I could be mistaken on that, but it turns out being nice. And the Quicksilver flask duration ends up being 16 seconds or something. Absolutely ridiculous. Super nice, you know, all the way through, even through leveling maps. This is basically what my gear and flask setup will probably look like, more or less, when I'm into high red maps, getting into high red maps. Before the Atlas is completed, but, you know, getting into high red maps. I think this is kind of what I expect. The Duresso's Defiance, Alpha's Howl, there will be a little bit harder pieces to get in at Series Step. I will not be corrupting those, but I do plan to probably corrupt the amulet, the belt, and the gloves. Gloves, these are super cheap. It's like 1 to 3 chaos gloves. You can get a huge corruption out of this. You can get Despair on hit. You can get +1 Frenzy. You can get, I mean, even something like Enfeeble on hit or something would be, you know, really nice. I like the idea of having Rampage, easy access to Rampage. I also like the synergy with the endurance charges here. That's pretty cool. The Wretch, there's a lot of really great implicits on the belt, and eventually I'm gonna val a crap ton of these, assuming that it stays below the radar on trade, and eventually I'm gonna hit a really good implicit. In Delirium Everywhere, I had a max all res roll on here. That was super sweet. You could get movement speed during flask effect. Something good there. Amulet's super cheap. At least the cheaper version is really cheap. Probably Valorb that one too. Quill Rain might even take me all the way to Headhunter. This belt will probably take me all the way to Headhunter if I'm being honest, unless I run into a terrible resistance problem. Yeah, that's what it looks like, guys. That's my League start plan as Toxic Rain specifically, and I will give you a link to this PoE planner so you can look at it. Sorry, I don't have the POB set up all nice and pretty. Don't really have time anyway, but then they don't have it updated as well. So you can always ask me some questions. I will be delighted to answer the questions, assuming I can get to them. We still got, what do we got? We got like 6 hours. Or no, 8 hours, I think, till the League starts. And I'm going to be sleeping through most of that, unfortunately, for you guys. Yeah, we'll see you on the next side of the League. I don't know when I'll make the next video. Might be a little while. I'll definitely make one as I'm getting into maps, for sure. I don't think I'll make a video while I'm doing the axe, though. Partially because it's embarrassing because I'm not very good at leveling the axe. I think my fastest run is like 15 hours. But I'm going to try really hard to improve that this time. So, you shouldn't necessarily take what I'm saying as gospel truth, since this is an aspect of the game that I'm actually not very good at. But, you know, look at it and see what you think. I know a lot of you guys wanted to know what I'm doing. And this is now the second time I'm leveling Toxic Rain ever in a league, not the first time. So there's a big difference there. And I tend to catch on with things pretty quickly. So, good luck to you guys in the league. Hope you get showered with all kinds of currency. Mirrors of Calandra and stuff, you know, all the kinds of things I've never seen. Somebody will. Anyway, catch you guys later. Bye.